Hello and welcome to I Like Art podcast. Today, I am so excited to interview one of my all-time favorite artists. She has such a blossoming career, and I not only love her art, I love everything that she does, her message, her voice, her mission, all of it. It is so inspiring and wonderful. So, I'm going to read the introduction. And what I like to do is encourage my listeners to hit the pause button as soon as you hear the intro and go check out her work and go see it and then revisit the episode. Come right back, listen, and you're going to get so much more out of this episode. And if you're really interested, you can also tune in on my YouTube channel. The link is in the show notes. You can see Carrie, you can see her background of her house she's in, and it's just going to be a visual experience, not only just tuning in. So I'm going to start by saying today we are featuring on I Like Art podcast, Carrie Schmitt. She began painting in 2009 after being diagnosed with a life-threatening allergy to heat while living in her hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. Bedridden and unable to go outside for months, one day a voice popped in her head and said, "Now that your life is over, you might as well do what you want and paint." Can you imagine that? Thankfully, she listened because painting has become a therapeutic practice, an act of tenderness amidst the darkness. And with time, she said there was some healing and the birth of her life as an artist. Today, Carrie Schmitt is a full-time artist, an art retreat facilitator, and author of The Story of Every Flower and A Flower in Her Heart, a true story of an artist who bloomed. She currently lives in the quaint seaside village of Stillicum, Washington, which means little pink flower. And her home is a retreat center and an artist sanctuary. You can stay there for a relaxing and nurturing getaway. And we're going to talk to Carrie about that and all of the things. Welcome to I Like Art podcast, Carrie. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. I'm so honored that you're on the show. I have been following your career for many years now, and it's been so fun watching you bloom. And this podcast is for artists, but also people who are not necessarily professional artists, but people who are interested in art as a topic or living more creatively, or maybe finding ways to heal through art. So I know we're going to get so much out of your interview. Everyone's going to be so inspired and excited. And are you ready to just jump in?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. I have my notes here, because I'm so organized today. It's like my artist brain hasn't taken over me yet today. So I would love for you to share your story as much as, go as far back as you like. What was your childhood like? Did you make art as a child? What age did you know? You said that you had this voice approach you, but is art something that you've always wanted to do and you finally gave yourself permission? Tell us all about it.
Yeah. I loved to create when I was a child. I have a very creative family. My parents, they weren't in necessarily creative professions, but they did apply their creativity to their work. So my dad was a small business owner. My mom was a teacher. And they are just the most creative people. So they were able to use their imagination in their fields, and they're both they're just off the charts creative. So I was really blessed that way, and we were always encouraged to explore creativity. My parents, especially my dad, loves fashion, and we had a lot of color in our home and our clothes. And my parents just like to have fun. They're not very serious people. So I had a really joyful and blessed childhood. I'm very fortunate. But they're also very practical. They're from the Midwest.
Yep.
So when I went to college, I wanted to major in art, but I was discouraged from doing that. So I majored in English literature instead. I love to read. Books were like my first love, and storytelling. So I did that, and I really got away from art. I loved taking art in high school. I spent all my free time in the art room. I had a really cool art teacher. She let us listen to music, and there was a couch in there, and it was a hangout. So I did stop creating, and I think that's when my world just kind of fell apart. I had a rough time in my 20s, and then I got really sick in my early 30s. And I was bedridden with this strange heat allergy and sun allergy, and I was allergic to my own body heat. So I couldn't really move without going into anaphylactic shock. So I was bedridden. I was very depressed, and it was just a death of my life. I think we have experienced many deaths of ourselves in one lifetime. And it was really, I was mourning my own life. I was still here, but everything was gone. I wasn't able to do anything. And it really stripped all the non-essentials away. I feel like that's why I was able to listen to this voice within me that you could call whatever you want. You could just call it inner wisdom or spirit or the divine or whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. It was there. And because I had nothing left, I'd listened. I had nothing else to do. So it was a really powerful, transformative moment in my life. And I do think I was out of alignment with what I should have been doing. I was, it put me on the path I think I was meant to live. So it was sort of a harsh intervention.
Yeah.
If I had listened to all the clues and not been afraid to say yes to this, what I feel like is my calling, I might not have had to go through such a kind of awful experience. But I'm really grateful I listened. And I always say that art saved my life. It carried me through that dark time like no human could. And it just felt like it held my hand through the darkness. And I started to be excited to wake up in the morning. I mean, I was having like suicidal thoughts, and it just gave me something to look forward to. And I just lost myself in the process. So my experience with art is a little different than other people's because it just loved me. It never judged me. It never criticized me. It saved me. So I have this very deep devotion and love for creativity that I now feel like I've devoted my entire life to this beautiful creative force that saved me. So what the gifts from that is that I bypassed a lot of the doubt and fear and judgment and criticism that people experience when they create. I didn't have any of that. I just had love and gratitude. And because the creative force, creativity treated me so well, I just swore I would never judge it. It never judged me. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was painting in bed. I had no training, and it never criticized me. So I made this vow that I would never treat it unkindly because it has never done that to me. So why would I judge my art? It has never judged me. It just sat like a silent witness. I felt like it was just with me. So that's my story with creativity. I had it, I kind of left it behind, got lost, and then came back to it. And it's been just a beautiful journey ever since. So I'm really grateful. I always say that was the biggest burden in my life, that heat allergy. I still have it, but it also became the biggest blessing. So that's become another theme, is like turning your burdens into blessings, which I've kind of learned to do through creativity. So that's it.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful story and testament to your life. And the joy is so evident in your work. It's just, your work just exudes joy and positivity. I have a couple of takeaway questions after
Sure.
what you told me. So when you started painting, did you immediately think, I'm going to start painting and therefore selling? Or are you going to start painting just because that voice had encouraged you? The one thing I don't want this podcast to, I don't want this message of, you're getting the nudge to create and therefore you should become a professional artist. I don't think that that's for everybody.
No,
And I think
agree.
that cuts a lot of people off from actually experimenting and creating and following those nudges. So what would you say about that? And were you painting florals from the beginning, or was there a lot of experimenting? So there's two separate questions there.
Right. Well, first of all, like I always tell my students, if you don't have to make a living from this, if you don't have to sell your work, then don't, like just enjoy it. And I always say, just let this be your joy. There's enough in life that is stressful. That's, there's conflict. Let this be your joy, there's enough of everything else. So
Yes.
This is a sacred practice. First and foremost, Don't bring all that other stuff from the outside into this. To me, it is like, it's a spiritual, sacred practice. So I would say, I would encourage people not to try to make a living and just enjoy it, especially if you're just beginning. I don't like that we like commodify everything and we have to justify it through making money. Now, I didn't start painting to sell. Mine was for survival. I was painting to like stay alive. So I was just completely in the process. And then it just sort of unfolded accidentally that I didn't mean for it to become like a profession. And I think if I had had anything else really, clear to me what I could do to make money, I would probably not have gone there. But I was an English major. So I'm like, I had a bunch of weird jobs after college. And I don't know if I would do it now for money if I had a backup, but I don't know what else I would do. So I feel like maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't have like a nursing degree, but like something clear that I could do. It's not the easiest path. I mean, I don't know if I would choose it as a profession. I feel like it is my calling, but that doesn't make it make it easy to live in this culture where artists aren't valued at all. I mean, I'm usually the only artist someone has ever met. Like I had a lot of workers come to my house doing some remodeling for the retreat center, and every single one of them was like, "You're the only artist I've ever met." And these are people like in their 50s and 60s. And I'm like, yeah, I know, because it's a really difficult profession when like our culture does not think we should have to pay artists. And I mean, I've been doing this 14 years now, so I can say from experience, that is the truth. And so I would encourage people to just let it be something you love. And, my friend in Argentina, she's an artist, Leah Porto, she's a full-time artist, but she came and stayed with me. And she's like, everyone in Argentina plays an instrument. Everyone has an art form. You're either painting or you're drawing or you're doing clay. Like we just do these things as part of our culture. It's not something we try to make money from. Everyone plays music. You don't have to be a musician. You just, and so it's really sad that we feel like unless we're going to make a bunch of money, we shouldn't do it. And we have to justify our time in this way by saying, well, I sell this, therefore I'm allowed to do it. It's a good use of time. And art is one of the most healing, therapeutic, spiritual practices. So that's enough, we don't have to have more. And if you need to make money, like I do, then, it gradually turned into a business, but that was not my intention ever. And, I don't feel like I chose it. I feel like it chose me. And I sometimes go like kicking and screaming with it.
I totally understand everything you're saying.
Yeah, it's not easy. And I think also people glamorize it. Like they think artists live these very glamorous lives and we don't. And it's hard. And, it's a ton of work. I work like 80 hours a week. And we're fighting for I don't know, I feel like we have to justify our existence. Like it is not, we are not embraced and we're not taken care of by this culture at all. So just to be real, I mean, that's the reality, like healthcare is a struggle, dental care is a struggle. There's a lot. We're fighting against Amazon, we're fighting against Target. I mean, it's not the best profession, I think. And I'm just going to be honest. So I mean, if you want to sell work to pay for your art supplies and, do it like that, I think that's great. But I wouldn't just run into it as like, I'm going to be a full-time artist. And, I don't know.
Oh, I totally get that. I think that's really good this is a really great conversation because I definitely don't want everyone to feel like they have to run out and do the same things that you or I are doing. I listened to another podcast. I think it was Andy J. Pizza's Creative Pep Talk. And he talked about how creative people are sometimes feel like they're held hostage by their creativity, where it's like, I know this is my path, but it's not easy, but I still have to do it. And I love it. There are there's a select group of us that do that, but it doesn't mean that everybody has to do it. So I love that so much. And I really appreciate your honesty. And also that's the whole reason why I started this podcast, because I want art to be accessible for everyone and not just an
Yeah.
art podcast about marketing your work or selling your
Right.
work or how do you network with other
Yeah.
artists. This is for hopefully the general audience who likes art. And hopefully we
Yeah.
encourage people today to meet some more artists, right? If there's all of
Yeah.
these people coming to your house and they've only met you, there's so many artists. So I
Yeah.
think everyone out there, including myself, we need to get to know more artists. We need to find ways to
Yeah.
support them. And we're going to talk about that with you in just a second. So
Yeah.
let's talk about, let's switch gears just a little bit. Let's
Mhm.
describe, how would you describe your beautiful art? What is it about? And what are you trying to say with your art? And I love how you talked about how you have an English background in storytelling,
Mhm.
because all of those experiences are helping you tell your story today as an artist, which is such a
Yeah.
strength because some of us artists are not as good at storytelling or writing. So what a great foundation that you have. I'm sure you don't regret
Yeah.
that background, but tell us more
Mm.
about your work.
Well, I mean, I don't think I'm trying to say anything really. My art is the result of a love affair with creativity. Like I am inspired. Sometimes people say, like, what are you inspired by? And I'm inspired by the process. It's the most beautiful, intimate, revealing process. I love the creative process. So that's my inspiration, is I get to experience that. And it is powerful and it is life-changing. And that's, I guess that's all I'm interested in, is experiencing that. And then, because I love it so much, I have so much joy in the process. Everyone always says, like, your art is so joyful. And I'm like, yeah, because when I'm making it, I am the
Yeah.
most joyful person in the world. Because people always say, oh, you must be so joyful because your art's so happy. And I'm like, I'm not like always like that. But when I create, I am. So um, I think we have a misunderstanding of creativity. And I think if we do understand it and we do experience it, that we can feel its power. And to me, I paint intuitively. So I feel like the paintings are just coming through me. I feel this creative force. I don't plan my art, so whatever happens, it's not in my head. It just is something that emerges on its own on the canvas. There's a lot of people that paint this way.
Mm-hmm.
So what I get to experience is co-creating with this invisible creative force that artists for centuries have talked about. Like Michelangelo talked about it. I mean, it's not a new idea, but when you get to experience it, to me, I'm having direct union with the divine. So like I get to tap into that, and it is the most euphoric state to live in. And so the more we are able to do that, I think the more it transforms us. And we practice these qualities like persistence and faith and trust and resilience and reverence and gratitude and love. These are all things that I am practicing in the process. So I become those, I'm more able to access those qualities outside of the process. And that's why art is powerful. I think we're not taught that, but it is why like repressive cultures tend to repress the arts, because there's so much empowerment and transformation in the process. So it's threatening. So that's what moves my work. I don't have anything to say except I love the process of creativity. And I know I've had several women tell me how my art has impacted them. And so they're getting these messages somehow, but I'm not intentionally putting them in the work. And I will tell you that two women within a week told me what happened to them after they looked at my art, and they almost word for word said the same thing. And it was basically, I looked at your art and I was just like, screw it. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to, add color to my home, and I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to, I'm always trying to please everyone else, but I'm just going to wear what I want to wear. And I'm going to, do what I want to do at the house. It's going to be me. I'm going to be me. And I was like, wow, that's so weird that you got that from my art, and that two women within a week, that was somehow what they got from that. I don't know how that works. I don't know why. I mean, hopefully I'm living that way, and maybe that's in my art, but there's subtle energy messages in art that we aren't even aware of. I really feel that there's an things like work with us that we're not even conscious of. And that would be an example of, when people look at our art and they see and feel things that we don't even know.
Yes.
So.
Oh my goodness. I feel like as painters, I'm your kindred spirit, because the joy, just the opportunity to create there's so much gratitude that happens when I get that chance. And it's so freeing. And I love that there's so much, not pressure, but there's this expectation, I think, that artists have to really analyze their work and have everything have this profound message, or a specific message. But I love that you're talking about this and we're having this conversation about creating and just the power of the act of creating, and that union and that energy conversion. And your art doesn't always have to have a message other than that. It can be,
I mean, I don't care, I don't care if people like my work. It's really, it's between me and the creative spirit. And I am obsessed with that and completely devoted to it. So I guess my entire life work is my devotion to creativity. And if it speaks to other people, that's great. But I'm not trying to say anything. Like there's enough noise in the world. There's enough people screaming for attention and, and trying to convince people of something.
And everyone has their own purpose, and maybe that's not your purpose too. Yeah. But you are not a cheerleader, but you are so passionate about creativity, and you're turning it into your life's mission. I'm going to skip ahead a couple of questions. I want the people who aren't familiar with you yet. What else are you doing? Because you are painting and you're devoted to creativity, and now you are helping others find their way too. And you are furthering this mission outside of yourself, which is so beautiful. And I truly believe that you are going to be rewarded, or you are being rewarded for this already, sharing. And it's that whole sense of community over competition. Tell us about your Patreon membership, your club, your offerings, all the other things that you do outside of painting.
Yeah, so I started this online membership program. It's a monthly membership, and every month we have a theme. So one theme was irises, and this month we're doing hummingbirds and the flowers they love. And we've done like flower crowns and faces. And so there's a different theme every month. And then there's an art lesson by me, and there's like 2 bonus art lessons. And then we have paint parties, and we have a guest interview, which they're always amazing. And then there's other little surprises in the month, and Q&As with me and things like that. So it's a beautiful community. I have to say, like, the best part are the women. The community has been so inspiring and supportive, and we've just developed these close friendships. It's online, but it's been such a beautiful experience, and the artwork that's been created just blows my mind. And when women are like, oh my gosh, I experienced it. I finally like understood what intuitive means. Like I felt the painting emerging on its own. Like there's these moments where I'm just like, oh, it's so exciting. So I'm doing that. And
what's it called? Like your membership?
It's called Flower Painting Club.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just my favorite thing I'm doing right now. Mostly because of the community. I mean, it's so fun to have women who want to talk about topics that we're all interested in. Like it's, there's like a purpose to our gathering, and we're all really nerdy about creativity and, books, and it's just a great community. So I think that's really important. And then my home is the other huge project. So these are my 2 big projects right now, but this is, I bought a house in Steilacoom, Washington, and it's going to be a retreat center. Well, it just opened, an artist sanctuary for women to come and stay and paint. They can use my art studio. It's fully stocked with paint supplies. And then they can take lessons or not. Like if they just want to come and, use the studio, they can, or they can take lessons from me. And then I have retreats and workshops here as well. So that's been a huge project, but it's been the greatest. I would say it's the greatest honor of my life. I'm going to try not to cry, but it's really just amazing that like 14 years ago, I feel like this creative force swooped in and saved me. And now like 14 years later, it's like I'm building this temple. I call it a temple to creativity. But it's pink and there's roses on everything painted.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like a way to honor the creativity that saved my life. Like I really wanted to build like a temple or a shrine to creativity where people can come and have the space to create. So when I was sick, I had all this time and space to spend to like just love my creativity. And so it's kind of like recreating that for everyone else, minus the heat allergy. But yeah, it's a really beautiful project. I mean, I hope it takes off, I hope people come and stay here. That remains to be seen, but it's my attempt to I think it's really important to have a physical building to honor something, because I'm in this area where there's not really anything like that. I don't see a lot of creativity and arts around me. So I want a physical structure to honor it, and that's been important throughout time for people who love or value something. So
yes. Yeah. And can I talk about your House of Miracles for a second?
Oh yeah, I didn't even say the name of it today.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I ruined it. I'm sorry.
No, I forgot. It's called House of Miracles because a bunch of miracles happened to get me to this space. So yeah, sorry. I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot.
I don't think you're describing your house. I don't think you're giving it justice as to how awesome it is, because I've been following you on Instagram. Everybody here should do that. And so I've been following since I think you purchased the house. And then there was a time when you were talking about what shade of pink it should be painted. So the outside is this really beautiful, soft petal pink. And oh, by the way, it has this crazy, awesome view of a lake. Isn't it?
It's the ocean. Yeah. We're on the water. So it's Puget Sound, Pacific Ocean, and there's whales and seals and dolphins
and the mountains.
That's really great. And the mountains. So it's like the ocean, and then right behind that are the Olympic Mountains. So you have this like best of both worlds space. It is like paradise. I have to say, it's just a dream, and the sunsets are unreal, and it's like a different painting every night, but it's really, and that's why it's a miracle, because I don't know how this happened, but it's a very special place. Yes, it's beautiful. It really is.
So, okay, if I'm somebody who's interested, you're about an hour from Seattle. So I really spent some time digging into this because I want to come. I want to bring my friends. If I was interested in booking a stay with you, what are some specifics? How many people, maybe I have a group of artist friends in Michigan. We want to come see you. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I have space for up to 4 people. I do have a pull-out couch, but I'm really supposed to limit it till 4. And there are several different bedrooms. And then there's, the fully stocked art studio. But I think 4 is an ideal number. If you're bringing a group, might be able to bring, 1 or 2 more. And yeah, you just book it on my website. There's different packages. There's different options you can choose from. So you could just come and stay and not do any art, or you could, use the studio, or you could sign up for lessons. And there's a lot to do around here. Where I'm about 30 minutes from Tacoma, which has some amazing art museums, and then 2 hours from Portland, and not far from some national parks like Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens and Olympic National Park. The Pacific Northwest is very beautiful. So yeah, it's a great spot.
Yes,
for sure.
I can't imagine you'd want to leave the Midwest for that. We're practically neighbors.
I love the Midwest too. I love, they both are very special in their own ways. So yeah, I do miss it, but
I do love the Midwest. I'm not here to hate on it, but that sounds pretty incredible. And the pictures I've seen photos of the House of Miracles and the views and the mountains and all of the things you described. And it looks like an incredible place to visit. And I did go on your website, and it's very easy to go check out the different options. And I don't like, I'm sure you feel that you do not have to be a professional artist to come here. Maybe you just get that nudge to start creating, and this would be a great way to start and to kind of get your feet wet and be inspired. Each room has a different theme, right? And they're all beautifully decorated.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I was telling someone, it's like, it looks like somebody's parents left the house with a child unattended, and the kid got into like some paint or markers, because I started painting on the walls, and like, now there's just flowers everywhere, and I painted on the doors and on the table and the chairs. And so everything's kind of slowly getting covered with flowers. But a little girl came over. I don't know if you've seen Encanto, but the house is magic and alive. And my door I painted, and the little girl's like, it's like Encanto's door. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy you said that. So it's a very whimsical, magical place. And I mean, I definitely encourage people just to paint for fun. I think if you're okay, so we don't have like a lot of financial poverty in our culture. I mean, I know people are struggling, but we have a lot of like creative poverty and spiritual poverty and emotional poverty. And that's what I think creativity and painting can offer us. The best reward is just the joy that we can access. And we need that more than anything. So I wouldn't encourage people to, necessarily, you don't have to be a professional artist. But it can bring you so much joy if you take the right approach. And I think we've been taught to be very critical and judgmental, and everything has to be perfect. Yeah, we can't do it. And so like my greatest offering as a teacher is to help people learn a loving approach to creativity, and not to, I find those sort of thoughts almost like an act of violence against ourselves and our art. So that sort of that negative talk and judgment, that will kill the joy. It's not a loving way to treat yourself or your art. So learning to not do that in art can also then, it'll carry over into your life in other ways. So the person I have become through my art is a completely different person than I was before I got sick. And that art has transformed me. So I think we forget when we create that the art is creating us. We are creating ourselves in the process. And so how we treat ourselves is going to be who we become. And if you're only saying horrible, negative things about yourself and your art, then that is going to be, what you embody all the time. So I think we miss that aspect of art and why it's powerful. We think we're creating something, but it is creating us. We need to be aware of, we need to be aware of that. And we need to be aware of what we are creating within ourselves. So we never get taught that, but yes, you should come. And and that's where the power of creativity is. It's what it's who we become in the process. So to me, it isn't always really about the art at all. I mean, I love my art. I love it because it's like a physical representation of my affair with creativity, but it's not the most important thing at all.
It's such a mirror, right?
Yeah,
the art
it is a mirror
of the soul. So all of that judgment and you're right. It translates to everyday life. There's not a disconnect there. There is a connection.
Yep.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. This is a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Okay. You have your House of Miracles. You have a lot going on though. You also have published. Okay. You're a published artist and author. Tell us about those projects and maybe some of your other things. Your work has been on a pair of Birkenstocks, which is like my dream. I would love to get a pair of those someday. They're on my list. Tell us about some other ways we can find your artwork.
Okay. Yeah, I have some books out. I wrote a book called The Story of Every Flower. it's a 10-year compilation of my journey as an artist. So it's like kind of just a 10-year celebration. It's very picture heavy. It's like a coffee table book. It's large. It's most of my paintings from the first 10 years of my journey. And then just interspersed in that are like little writings from my journal or just different thoughts I've had along the way. So it's a little bit of like some intimate writing and mostly, artwork. It tells the story of my journey up to this point. It's a really beautiful book. I'm really proud of it. I love that book. And I made it so that someday my descendants will know what I believe and who I am. So that really drove the book is I wanted to document my journey. And then I have a companion book called A Flower in Her Heart, the true story of an artist who bloomed. And that's a picture book. And that's the real story of my journey so far. And I wanted to make that because I love picture books. And I wanted kids to know that, we artists are real. We're here, we're part of society. And we're alive, because when I love to read picture books to my kids, and most of the artists we read about are already dead. So you can't like follow them. You can't see, well, like, what is she going to do next? I mean, they can write to me, they can follow me on social media, and my story's not over. So I think it's fun to like know the story of someone who's alive and, you might possibly be able to meet, or, and it's a really inspiring story about, overcoming an obstacle, like a health condition, and turning it into something beautiful. So yeah, I really love the picture book. I have an older book. It's not, I think it's out of print now, but it was more of an art technique book. So yeah, and those are available on my site. And then like I do license my art with different companies. So licensing is a big part of my job. And and I have my online store, which is a lot of my own products. I love to make products with my art.
Your work looks so awesome. I wanted to shop your store the other day and buy all the products. So you have, and it's so beautiful and amazing. And yeah, I mean, it translates so well to products. I love seeing your online shop. It's awesome.
It's fun. I like creating products with my art. I don't know if it's necessary, but it's just something I get excited about. I like seeing my art on different things. So I've been doing this for a long time. And I was just also telling a friend, like, it's like baby steps. Like when I got to this retreat center, I was like, oh my gosh, it's been like baby step after baby step. Like I describe it as like, it's like grain of sand on grain of sand. Like it's felt really slow. It's like a million tiny steps. And a lot of them feel insignificant, but they all led to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my gosh, it's a long journey of many, many tiny little, efforts.
Yes. I know as an artist, I look at all of the things that you are doing and that you've done, and I feel I'm so inspired. But yeah, it's definitely something you don't want to compare my chapter 4 with your chapter 14 or whatever.
It takes a lot of time. And I've devoted my life completely to it. This is all I do. My friend asked me like something about, what do you talk about with people? Like, I'm like, I only talk about art. I don't even like, I've pretty much cut everything else out of my life. It's a strange way to live. And if you have any sort of outside life beside this, then it's going to look different. I've given up almost everything. So it's a little bit of an extreme way to live.
Yeah.
I don't know if I recommend it. And it just happened. It just, that's what happened.
And I think you're right. Everybody has a different way of doing it. So your life as an artist and my life as an artist look very different, and that's okay. And you may have, everyone has their own set of gifts and calling. And for you to create, a community and your retreat center and offer teaching and all of those things, you're just living this fulfilled life, which is so inspiring. And I definitely don't want my listeners to feel a little overwhelmed or worried. Like I'm not doing it right, because there's no right or wrong. As an artist,
Right.
you can do it a million different ways.
Yeah. And my kids are grown for the most part. And 2 out of the 3 are, out of the house adults. So, I mean, I remember when they were younger and there was no way I could do a lot of this. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's just, seasons of your life,
Yes.
they come and go and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so thankful you listened to that nudge and that voice, because look at what a beautiful, amazing, incredible life you have created from it. And I cannot wait to see the House of Miracles take off, and all of these new people coming to see you and your art in the space. I think just being in the House of Miracles is going to open people up in a new way and show them something about themselves maybe they weren't aware of, or they'll learn something, or they'll find their creative voice. And
Mhm.
you are definitely touching lives. At some point, did you feel like, obviously you listened to that first nudge, and then I'm guessing more and more of those intuitive thoughts have come to you over those years saying, oh, you really
Yeah.
should write this book. You really should
Yeah.
talk about this. You really should offer
Mhm.
retreats. Is there a point where, I know I feel the same way, even when I started this podcast a year ago, it was like, really, one more thing? Do I really have time to do this? But the idea kept tapping me on the shoulder. Have you
Yeah.
found that the same for you? And is there something that you want to reveal that you would like to see happen beyond the House of Miracles? Or are you focusing on that for right now? Is there anything you want to share?
Um, I definitely think those nudges, I I've become better at listening to them. And there's been other times where I've heard messages that I've listened to. Some are really loud and strange. And, I have listened because of what happened with, when I started to paint, I was like, wow, I should probably listen, you know, instead of push that aside, because I wanted to paint for years and I wasn't listening because I believed it wasn't possible and I was afraid, to try and I didn't think I was good enough. And so I got the smack down and I, got put in my place so that I would finally listen. But I definitely have heard the voice. And I heard it in a really strong way when I was going through a difficult time in 2017. And I heard a voice repeatedly telling me to like follow the roses. And it sort of eventually revealed I was supposed to give roses away every day for a year. And that's insane. But I was like, okay, well, if you'd say so, because now I'm just going to listen to everything that this voice tells me. And it turned out to be the most transformative year of my life. I call it my accidental spiritual pilgrimage because I didn't know what was going to happen. And it completely changed my life and my relationship with creativity. So that sounded crazy. Also, I was having like some financial struggles and I was like, why would I buy a rose every day when I should be trying to make money? I'm losing money. And the roses were like $3 a piece. So I was like, this is the last thing I should be doing. I should be, it's like counterintuitive, but it
Mhm.
completely changed my life. So yes, I definitely listen. And sometimes I watch the birds and I think like, am I living like them? Like, am I just doing what I'm supposed to be doing without even thinking? Like, sometimes I feel that way, that something else is moving me and guiding me. And I can't help it. Like, this is
Mhm.
just who I am. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I love living in that state where I feel like there's something else guiding me here. And I'm trying, that's the thing I'm working on now is like, I want to surrender more and more to that outside of my art. I'm really, really great at surrendering in my process. Like I'm completely surrendered. I don't care what happens and I'm not in charge, but trying to dive deeper into that in my own life just to see what happens. And I feel like that happened with this house because in my head, I was planning to live in the woods. I had lived in the woods and I was renting a house and the owners were selling it. So my plan was just go deep in the woods and kind of disappear. And just because I'm allergic to the sun, I wanted to be like in the dark. And we have some really dense woods here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm just going to go into the woods and like be by myself and just, live and whatever. And it felt like this hand just like picked me up and like dropped me in this house. I wasn't looking for this. I wasn't envisioning it. This was not my plan. It was something else. And then all these miracles happened that made this happen. Like it was, so that felt very much like something else brought me here. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a really great feeling to live
Mm-hmm.
into. So I guess what I'm working on is, there's a great quote, and it's, I want to live like a feather on the breath of the divine. And that's really what I'm interested in my life right now. And that's how it felt when I got to House of Miracles. And I was like, I want more of this, whatever
Mm-hmm.
this is.
Yeah.
I want to live in this way because
Yes.
there's something wiser than me. And I know, like when we get older, sometimes we say like, I'm going to really listen to myself. And I'm like, I'm going to stop listening to myself because I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know anything. And I want to listen to something wiser than I am. So, I mean, I guess that's what I'm working on as far as my business. I'm trying to grow the House of Miracles because I want to share this love for creativity with others. And I hope that is my calling. I don't know if that's my calling, but it feels like it. I think it's the gift I have to offer. And so that's really it. I mean, I would love for women to come here as like a sort of an annual pilgrimage and, really connect with their own creativity and
Yes.
yeah, so that's it. I mean, I would be totally happy to just be here and have this beautiful community with me. And I also, I'm a little bit housebound because my heat and sun allergy have gotten worse. So the other magic in this that wasn't really planned on my part is like, I can do this from my home now. So it's like, wow, this really checks off my needs as well, because I can't go out and teach retreats in like India or, in other places. It's like people have to come to me because I can't leave. So it's really ideal. And I feel like I've been taken care of in that sense. So
yes, I know. What an incredible time to be an artist because you could do it online. What a gift.
Yeah. That's been great.
I have a question for you that I really want to ask now because you're so intuitive and I find this so inspiring. But I know as an artist or even as a person living in today's world, how do you combat the fear? Because fear is so real and fear can definitely be the barricade between you and those creative nudges. And how do you overcome that? Is there some kind of advice you could give my listeners?
In the art process well, I don't have any fear in the creative process because I think I understand it. And I think my role is to just be open to whatever happens. I don't think my role is to judge. I don't think it's to criticize. I don't think it's a reflection of me. I think claiming it as mine that's not right. Like when people say like, that's beautiful, I don't want to say thank you because I don't want to take that. It has nothing to do with me. So remaining unattached to it, it says nothing about your worth as a person or as an artist. Doesn't mean you're a good artist, doesn't mean you're a bad artist. It's just an expression. It has nothing to do with me, So I mean, there's no fear because I don't feel like it has any reflection towards me at all. And I think claiming that is overstepping my role and it's a misunderstanding of my role in creativity. So something wants to be expressed. It wants to be expressed through me. I have this beautiful, experience of creating with it and I let it go and there it is. And I don't think we're meant to judge it. I think it's horrible what we do to creativity. I think we disrespect it. So I don't have fear because I guess I know what I'm supposed to do and it's not up to me. I never know what's going to happen on the canvas. And I think the painting knows what it wants to be. And my job is to accept it and surrender and then, get out of the way and just let it happen there's no fear for me in that. I don't know. I guess I think it's like the greatest honor ever. But in my life, I think I do have fear in my life. And I think that's where the challenge is. If I can apply the same idea to my life, because, everything is in a state of creativity all the time. We are constantly in a state of creativity, the universe is. So if I can get into that space of acceptance and, what can I not control? And then I can always control my response. So I might not be able to control what happens, but I can choose how to respond to it. So I do have that. Just like the pandemic, like it was really surprising to some people that we're like not the center of the universe and things happen beyond our control and we're not in control. So how do we respond? That's I don't know. Yeah. I guess that's where I'm at in the fear. I mean, I think creativity teaches you faith, like faith in the process. If you don't like it, if it's not going your way, then it's not done yet. I mean, you're mid-process. So it shouldn't be all perfect and going your way. So
yeah, that's so true. I do see I think opening the House of Miracles must have taken a lot of that faith and courage over fear. And I'm just wondering if all of this time you've spent making your art and each painting is an opportunity to strengthen that courage. And, it's like this layer of armor that you're creating that is helping you move into the next direction or the next project or the next book or creating your Patreon membership and all of those things.
I mean, you never know if what you make will be received. Like I have paintings that sell and then some that don't sell. And this house is no different. I mean, I can create a artist sanctuary, but I can't control if people come. And that's just something you have to be at peace with. Like there's a quote I think it's the Ramayana that it's like, we're entitled to our labor, but not the fruits of our labor. So I'm entitled to the labor of creating this house but I'm not entitled to any of the fruits of it. Like there might not be any response. That's okay. I mean, I did my work, it felt like this is what I was meant to do. And just like your art, you're entitled to the labor of producing it, but maybe no one buys it. That's not something that we have control over. So you really do have to let go of it, and I've been disappointed. I mean, I opened House of Miracles and didn't have like a huge response. And that was disappointing because I did spend like 6 months. I barely slept. Like, I think I was getting like 4 hours of sleep. I was working on it, plus my business. So I've never worked so hard. And then, it's like, sometimes there isn't a response and it can be disappointing. It's like when you have a sale and it's like crickets.
Yes. I've had that happen.
Yeah. I think every artist has, I think it's brave to put your art out there and like announce, I have 20 paintings for sale and then nothing sells.
I know it happens.
It does. And you're putting yourself out there and you're being vulnerable and it happens to everyone. I mean, there's maybe exceptions, but you just keep going. I mean, like I thought the House of Miracles, I was like, everyone was so excited about it. There was so much excitement because I was talking about it for 6 months and I was like taking people through the different process of the house. And then it was a pretty uneventful response. Like when I opened it, it was kind of like, not, and I don't know if that's because of the economy or people just aren't interested, but it's just like, okay, well, I did what I could and, we'll try it for a year. And if nobody comes, then I'll just,
people are coming.
They're coming. I mean, it is disappointing and, but I'm kind of just I'm used to this. So it's just like, it's the way it is.
And I think you might be surprised too, because sometimes we launch something and it just takes a little bit of time to marinate and for people to find out about it, clear their schedules. Summer can be a busy time with other things going
Yeah.
on. So I would just keep that faith. And I definitely,
Yeah.
when I've launched things and it's a slow launch,
Yeah.
I always recognize that, oh, my faith is being tested, or I need to think about
Mhm.
promoting this in a different creative way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you just keep going.
yeah, you
It's,
just
I
keep
mean, being an
going.
entrepreneur is brutal. And I don't think people know. My heart for, it goes out to any entrepreneur, like restaurants, they
Yes.
work so hard and opening and then like no one comes. I mean, like, it's just like, oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
pour your entire heart and soul into everything you do. And I mean, I have such a soft spot for entrepreneurs because my dad's a business owner. I've been doing this. I know other entrepreneurs and we work so hard. And, it's hard because our culture really goes with what's easy, like
Mhm.
Amazon, Amazon,
Yes.
Amazon, and the big box stores. And we forget about these family owned, and
Yeah.
operated, and it's someone's dream, it's someone's passion. They've poured everything into it. And it kind of breaks my heart that we want to support it, but it's like, it's so much easier to just
Yeah.
do that,
Well, hopefully
So yeah,
we'll change that this time
I
around.
hope so.
Hopefully
I
we
hope
flip that
so.
script. Hopefully people
Gosh, I hope
realize
so.
the importance of supporting artists and supporting small businesses, getting to know
Yeah.
more artists. I've spent some time on
Yeah.
your website. Your website is very well done. I will say that. Website goals here, because I also have my art
Aw,
website, and
yeah.
you have a lot of offerings. You have a lot of products. You have a Patreon membership, which is not only
Hmm.
your flower painting club, which I believe is the highest tier, but your Patreon
Yeah.
membership. If somebody wants to support you on a smaller level, there's incremental levels, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
they can support you that way. There are a
Hmm.
lot of perks. You
Yeah.
can purchase Carrie's products. You can go check out the House of Miracles, or even something I find that supports artists is even sharing. So,
Yeah.
sharing a social media post or an announcement, sharing somebody's sale, sharing somebody's new offering, and not necessarily buying it yourself, but
Right.
sharing it is such a
Right.
huge help, especially nowadays with the algorithm and all of the things with
Oh
social
yeah.
media. Anything that you can
Yeah.
do to support an artist is so appreciated by us artists. Is there anything you want to
Definitely.
tell us? Is there some advice you want to pass on to someone who is an artist or someone who wants to become more creative? Is there some advice you want to give your younger self? Those are like three questions. So
Mhm.
any of the three is fine that you feel like you have.
um I just interviewed one of my good friends, Jennifer Mercedes, last night in our flower painting club. And she's a really great example of someone. She really follows her joy when she paints, and when her life, she just like kind of follows whatever feels good. So this summer, she's like, someone's like, are you teaching this summer, like art? She's like, I'm teaching swimming lessons because like I'm really into swimming right now. That is how she lives her life. And I think it's great advice to just follow your joy. And that I've tried to do that with my art. I think it's worked. It leads to longevity. It keeps it alive and interesting. And I think it's another way to not have fear, because I know, you do your best, and if it doesn't work out, then you pivot and you do something else.
Mhm.
But you're constantly following what lights you up and in what you're excited about. And I mean, I guess that's it. I think really getting to know yourself is very important as an artist.
Mhm.
um, there's also this quote by John O'Donohue that says the invisible is always parent to the visible. And as artists, we're making the visible, and it's like we should be really interested in the invisible if that's where
Mhm.
everything originates. So to be unique and to stand out as an artist, I think you really need to know who you are. Otherwise, you're just kind of copying other people and you're not coming up with original ideas. So, doing that quiet reflection, listening, surrendering. I mean, these are huge things that we aren't taught to do, but I think it'll take you in the direction that you're meant to go. And I mean, my favorite artists have very unique paths. Like they are
Mhm.
really they're guided by their joy, and they're doing kind of unique and interesting things. They're not
Mhm.
following. So I think being able to listen is going to start leading you into really interesting things, and not everything works out. I've watched friends do things and then, it just doesn't work, and they go on to the next thing. So that's a part of it, but they always are true to themselves. They're always listening and exploring, and
Yes.
so,
Okay. Thank you for that advice.
yeah.
I want to be really respectful of your time. So is there any other way we can support you? We'll have a link to your website. Is there anything else that you can think of?
I'm pretty active on Instagram, and I do have the website, and I just anything people can do to support artists that they believe in, or that they like their message, and I think that's great. It means so much to all artists, no matter who it is. So
yes.
Yeah.
I love that you're on a mission to support artists and to help them figure out their creativity as a way of passing on this incredible gift that you have been given. And I know that you're going to be, rewarded for that. And how beautiful. Your story's so beautiful. I have a rapid fire 5 questions I want to ask you. Do you have time for that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Definitely.
All right, Carrie, top of mind. Don't think too hard. What is your favorite color?
Oh, definitely pink and metallic gold and pink.
Ooh, what shade of
Love the
pink?
pink. Oh my gosh, I love every shade of pink. I like magenta, but sometimes I like soft pinks. It just depends on my mood, but my grandmother loved pink. It was her favorite color. So I have a pink house and a pink buzz, and it's a powerful color. Okay, this sounds kind of harsh. I feel like it's been disrespected, and I think the pink is the color of the divine feminine and creativity, and so I try to put it back into the landscape a little bit.
Yes. I'm drawn to all of the pink in your work. I love it so much. Pink is my favorite color too. So
yeah.
Yay. All right. No judgment here at all. Work beverage of choice. What do you like to drink when you're working in your studio?
Oh my gosh. There's a few things. I have an addiction to iced tea, which is it's my dad's fault. So, I'm from Ohio. We're like almost the South. We're right on the edge, Cincinnati. So love iced tea. He used to make sun tea, where in the morning he would put this huge jug of water with tea and then lemons and orange slices and sit it in like the heat and sun all day. And by the end of the day, it was like liquid sunshine. So good. So I have an iced tea addiction with lemon. You can't make sun tea here. The sun's not strong enough in Seattle area, but so I can't do that, but I still have that. And then I have this rose cacao tea, and I think it's the signature tea of House of Miracles, because it's so good. It's amazing. So that I like warm with oat milk, and it's amazing. Yum. So those are my two. Yeah, it's very soothing. My daughter, my 24-year-old, she tried it and she's like, this is so calming and soothing, and it's just delicious. So I actually have a rose bar at House of Miracles. Like, instead of an alcohol bar, it's right there. So I'm pointing to it, but it has all these rose products, and including the teas, and like rose foot bath and essential oils and things like that. And
I love it.
So
that's so fun. My studio is the Cherry Tree Art Studio, so I have a bunch of cherry things. It's fun to have a theme, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I think it's nice to have a symbol. And the rose is definitely my symbol. There's a lot of family lore and connected to it for us. So
I'd love to hear more about that. Same with the cherries. Okay.
Yeah.
Book or movie mention that you want to bring up? Just, it could be your favorite or suggested.
Okay. So I just I did an audiobook, which I am loving audiobooks these days because I'm always working and I've been working on a house. And so I don't have time to read, but I'm listening as I work. And so there's this one called The Journey Home. It's by Radhanath Swami, and it's a memoir about his life. And it is so captivating. He's like, I call him like the Indiana Jones of like the spirituality movement, because he goes on these insane adventures in India, but it's a beautiful story of devotion. So I am very devoted to creativity, and I love people who practice devotion. So he has this deep devotion to his spiritual beliefs and his path. And but it's a riveting story. So I would recommend the audiobook. They play music that's like very suspenseful, but it's a spiritual journey. So it's not just, this, but his life is amazing and it's really beautiful. So I've been loving that. I was so sad when it was over. I think I might listen to it again. And then there's a movie. I'm going to mess up the title, but it's called Gangabai Kathiawadi. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but it's about a woman. It's based on a true story of a woman in India and her amazing life. And it's very, very powerful. I told my daughter to watch it. She watched it and then she started it over and watched it again, right in a row. And she never does that. I feel like it's just something that, all women could really enjoy and men too, but
you're going to have to send me a link to that. Yes, I don't even know how to spell that.
I know. I'll send you the link. It's an incredible story. It really is.
To watch that.
Yeah. Very inspiring. So both of these are very inspiring.
Okay. I love that. Yeah. I'm always looking for something to listen to in the studio. So that's perfect.
Yes. Yeah. And they're both in India. I don't mean to do that. I really love a lot of Indian things, I guess. So
okay. I'm going to check both of those out. Yeah. Where do you get your ideas or inspiration? You said you're intuitive. So maybe it's just whatever comes out.
Yeah, I think my job is to be open to whatever wants to come through me. So that's my work. And I don't know where they come from, but they're always, I always describe it as like, when I paint, I feel like I'm opening a present because I have no idea what it's going to be. And it like just appears in front of me like a gift. And I when I'm painting, I'm like, I can't wait to see what this is going to be. And it's just like that feeling when I was a kid on Christmas morning and I'm unwrapping something. I'm like, what is it? What is it? So that's how I paint. And
that's so beautiful.
Fun. Yeah.
I love that. How exciting. I have a few.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I also if my art depended on me, it would not look the way it looks at all. None of it would exist. I don't have that big of an imagination. So I need that help. And what happens when I just let go and surrender is beyond anything I could imagine. And it just brings me to tears because it's just so beautiful. And I could never do that on my own. Never. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I have this is random, but this is a podcast for people who some people think they can't even draw a stick figure. I know for me, I'm not very good at sports. So I wish I was good at certain sports, but is there something it doesn't have to be art related, but is there something you wish you were good at, but you're not?
I mean, I admire people who can sing. I love when I hear a strong voice on Broadway or something, it just moves me to tears. But I feel like part of my spiritual practice would be to respect my gifts and not think like that. Like just to be, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know if I think of that, except, I mean, I feel like I'm not good at everything.
Yeah. And that's okay.
But I love musicians. I think, what they do is they take something out of thin air and they like make it into something beautiful. And we get to see that. And they're like magicians. Like, where did that come from? They literally just pulled something out of thin air, out of nothing. And I guess that really intrigues me that people can do that. And I don't know.
That's how we feel about your painting. That's how people feel about you painting. How do you do that? So it's really interesting to see it across different mediums or art forms.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting to me is when I see people busking on the street, when I see musicians and they're creating the most beautiful sounds, and I love to watch them, but I also watch people walk by and they're like not even paying attention. They're like walking by, like they don't even see that there's this miracle happening right in front of them. There's just no reverence. There's no respect. And it makes me kind of sad that we're in the midst of a miracle of beauty, of art, and people are just walking by, like, don't even care. So it's kind of
need to slow down.
I wish we valued that more. I went to New Orleans a couple of years ago, and have you been there?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, it's just the air is just like charged with, there's so much music that the air is, it feels different. Maybe there's some weird vibrations happening, but the air is just charged with this energy that is palpable. And then there's just music on every street corner. You can't escape it. And when I left, I felt sad for myself that like, that isn't, there's this silence of that where I live. There's no music. And how cool it would be if like the city government paid musicians to play, in the streets and things. But I felt like I was missing out on, I was like, wow, I'm deprived of that. That's like a form of poverty. So I wish we celebrated the arts more. I think we'd have a lot less problems.
I know. I agree.
We do.
I agree.
It's this, the thing with New Orleans is that there's a soulfulness in the air. It is, there's a soul. And I think art and creativity is soul. It is soulful. So when you remove that, there's no soul. And that's what I felt like I was mourning when I left, is that they created a space where there was the presence of soul. And that's gone. I mean, it's depressing to me.
Yeah. We have a lot of work to do. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That is just, that's something to think about. I think we all need to think about that. And how can you bring more art and soul into your own life?
Yeah. I mean, I think we need to value it as a culture. We don't value it. And I mean, I can see it in our surroundings. So,
we need more art, more artists, more art. Last question for you, Carrie. Thank you so much for taking your time talking to me today. Is there a creative challenge you want to give my listeners? I feel like we have so many good takeaways. There's so many nuggets in this episode, but is there one last message you want to give or a challenge to my listeners?
Sure. Well, I mean, one thing I say this to my students is like, when you step back and look at your work, instead of judging it, listen to it. And that changes everything. Like if you listen to your art, that would be my challenge, to just listen to it and respect it, and even ask it for help if you need help. But I don't think it's a dead object. I don't think you're alone, that you're in charge, that you're creating this on your own. I think if you can be in reciprocity with it and in a relationship with it and honor it, like things will happen if you are open to that and you create that space for yourself. So I would just say, start to try to listen to your art and love the process. If you find yourself criticizing, I would start to change that story in your head. And I also say that, artists are just people who are telling a better story than you about their creativity. It has nothing to do with talent. It has absolutely nothing. They are not more talented than you. They're telling a better story about their creativity. So I think, the power we have in our heads to tell the right story for ourselves. I think that would be a good challenge to listen and pay attention. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Your website is, can you just tell us what your website is real quick?
Yeah, sure. It's carrieschmittdesign.com. And my last name, you can just put it in the notes because it's spelled a little differently. It's not the typical last name, Schmitt. So they can check that out.
Oh, I love it. Thank you again so much for your time, for tuning in. I know my listeners are going to learn so much from you and get so much out of this episode. And I can't wait to follow you in the House of Miracles and see the people coming to stay and hear those stories and see you shine your light even brighter. You're such a gift to this world, Carrie. And I appreciate you and your time and just sharing all of your talents with all of us. Man, thanks again.
You. Oh, thanks for having me.
Yes. Thanks everyone for tuning into today's episode, and go check out Carrie's work. Go support her. Find some new artists in your life to follow and to learn about. And until then, I will see you guys next week on the podcast, I Like Art. Thanks again. Bye, Carrie.
Bye. Thank you.